Pokemon Pokopia is getting a new trailer in 2 days on Thursday. And that is good news because I think the game looks really cute. I think it has a ton of potential, and I'm actually very excited to play it. So I really want to learn more about the game. Pokemon Pokopia has also gotten a release date of March 5th, 2026. This is also good news. It is nice to have release dates for games. It makes me feel at ease, knowing precisely when I will be able to enjoy Pokemon Pokopia. However, unfortunately, I also have bad news. News that could not really be considered good by just about anyone. We can be reasonably confident that Pokemon Pokopia is going to be a game key card release. It is not completely official yet, but Nintendo just put out a new little info overview trailer video kind of thing for game key cards, and they use Pokemon Pokopia in the little example. We see the card for Pokopia in this video about game key cards. And it does say sample on it. On the card in the video, it says the word sample. So, it's oh, does that mean this is just an example? I don't think so, though. I think, if anything, that is just a sample of the art that is going to be on the card. I really don't know why they would use this game as an example in this video if this game itself was not a game key card, and it seems other people are uncovering other little bits of information that makes it seem like, yes, it's going to be a game key card release. So again, it's not literally official. It's not 100% guaranteed that it's going to be a game key card or in all territories, because sometimes it varies. But yeah, yeah, pretty darn sure it's going to be a game key card release, which is disappointing for sure. Nintendo themselves said that they were not going to be using game key cards. They created game key cards for third parties, to kind of help save costs on the cartridges, because, obviously the cards themselves are proprietary. They cost money to produce, and so that kind of cuts into the profit. So that's why they created these, to give publishers the option to just not have to buy the more expensive card. And obviously it's not great for consumers and all of that. But they said that we didn't have to worry. They were not going to be putting Nintendo games on game key cards. However, that's the thing about Pokemon. In some ways, it's first party. It's published by Nintendo in most territories. It's it's just closely associated with Nintendo. Nintendo owns a majority share in Pokemon, but then sometimes it's also kind of its own thing. It's a second party, if you want to call it that. And then this game itself is actually being developed by Omega Force, which is owned by Koei Tecmo. So, you could maybe argue, okay, yeah, well, it's not developed by Nintendo, but I don't know, that logic isn't super duper sound, because, lots of games are co-developed by Nintendo, or Nintendo publishes it, and they get a third-party developer to make it. They don't necessarily own that company, they're working with a company, but they're still calling the shots, and they're still publishing it. Like Kirby Air Riders, that's Bandai Namco, right? They're helping make that, but it's still a Nintendo game. And Hyrule Warriors, that is also Koei Tecmo, but that's not a game key card release. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a pretty shoddy loophole, but it does seem that Pokemon is exploiting that loophole. Even if this isn't a really explicit case of Nintendo going back on their promise, it does still kind of feel that way a little bit. It's a Pokemon game. It's a Nintendo game. It just basically is. And it's weird. It's really, really weird, because it's kind of why this game? Apparently, the full game is only going to be 10 gigabytes. So it's not some massive thing where, oh, we would have had to go for the 64 gigabyte card, and that would have just cost way too much money. It's no, it's 10 gigabytes. It's just whatever. Now, some people have pointed out that when a publisher decides to go with a game key card release, it's not always necessarily just greed or even just a cost-saving measure. Some people have brought up the idea that it could be a data streaming issue where the system like can't quite read the card fast enough, so it needs the data to be like on the system itself in order to read properly. I still don't really know how true that is. It feels weird to me that Nintendo would stick with this proprietary medium and then just like it's like inadequate in some way. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how true that is. If it is true, then okay. The thing here though is like, again, it's Pokémon Pokopia. It's not a humongous game. It's 10 gigabytes. It is not a very action-heavy game. I don't see why it would need to like stream just loads and loads of data from the card all the time, you know? So like, and even if it did, they could just do what a lot of publishers do, where it requires like a partial download. They're like, even if the game is basically on the card, you still have to like download a big patch to help with the data streaming thing or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It is weird. I am not happy that they are doing this, because anytime they do this, it's like a little bit uncomfortable. Anytime, you know, if Nintendo is kind of like, this really is them breaking the ice. Again, it's kind of a loophole. It's Pokemon, so it's kind of not Nintendo. Oh, and it's Koei Tecmo, so it's also kind of not Nintendo. But like, yeah, in my eyes, it still is kind of basically Nintendo doing it. So that's not super fun. That is a little bit disconcerting. We don't really want to see this happen a whole lot. However, I'm trying to remain optimistic here. I see a lot of people very, very wary, and I totally get it. Like, if you're super extra scared about this, then sure, you know, some people are like, oh, well, this is them testing the waters, and if it still sells well, then they're all going to be game key card releases in the future. I don't necessarily see that happening. From Nintendo's perspective, absolutely not. I do believe that they're going to stay true to their word, and they're like actual, real first-party Nintendo releases, and, you know, Mario games and whatnot. I don't think those are going to be game key card releases, unless, you know, the next Zelda is just like 100 gigabytes. Just like literally cannot possibly fit it on any card. I could see that happening. Take them 15 years to develop or whatever. But for the most part, I'm pretty confident there. As for the Pokemon Company, though, I'm a little bit less confident. It's possible that this could be a test, I suppose. You know, like, oh, and if it sells really well, then... But, like, it's not a mainline game. And that's what's weird. If this was just purely a case of the Pokemon Company being greedy, because they just wanted to save money by having the cheaper card, you know, then okay, but, like, why wouldn't they have done that with Legend ZA? Like, why was that not the first game key card release? They could have easily done that. Maybe you could argue that they didn't want to make the Switch 2 edition any less appealing, because then a lot of people would have been like, well, fine, I'll just not get a Switch 2. I'll just play it on my Switch 1. It's possible there. They wanted parity with the Switch 1 version, and it could be that this is the next Pokemon release, and that's why they're doing it now. And I'll admit, it's totally possible that they will be game key card releases from now on. Or this is some kind of test. I don't know. When you want to talk about the idea of the test, on the one hand, like, it's Pokemon, so if it's gonna sell, it's gonna sell, obviously. Did you see Scarlet and Violet? Like, it's gonna sell. But then on the other hand, it's a spin-off, and Pokemon spin-offs don't always do as well. So is this even much of a test, or are you just giving this spin-off a big disadvantage? But then on the other hand, it's a spin-off, but I think it has humongous potential. I really do think that this game could sell very, very, very well. Not like a lot of the other, you know, 1 or 2 million sales spin-offs. I think this could be another really big one. So yeah, I don't know. It could be this is the new normal, or it could be that for some reason Koei Tecmo needed it this way, just because of the technology they were working with and just something about the game. Maybe it is a data streaming issue. I don't know. We really don't know. We don't know why precisely. I want to believe that it's more complicated than just pure greed, so they can save a few dollars per unit. I don't know. If anything, in Japan, they have been pushing the game key card thing less. Like, there are games where, like, we get the game key cards, and then in Japan, the game is on the card. So, like, if anything, I would expect it to kind of go the opposite way, you know? Pokemon is it's Pokemon. It's Japanese. It's so big in Japan. So, like, why would they now start forcing the game key card thing on the Japanese audience? I really don't know. It's complicated. There's probably a lot to consider. For now, though, it does seem to be the case for this game. And yes, that is disappointing. It is. We can hope that this is a one and done kind of thing, or just a sort of every once in a while kind of thing. But you know, this is the Pokemon company we're talking about, so I wouldn't really put anything past them.